Over the last 13 years, I've spent over $1 million outsourcing work to freelancers and overseas teams. And I gotta be brutally honest with you, about 20% of them were absolutely amazing, 60% were mediocre, about 20% were absolute disasters. And here's what nobody tells you about outsourcing. Even when you find good people, you're still dealing with all the other crap that costs you way more than you realize. The missed deadlines, the excuses, the disappearing acts, the time you spend managing them. Today, I'm going to show you the real cost of the freelancer model, the hidden costs that nobody talks about, and why I eventually built a completely different system that I call insourcing instead of outsourcing. And at the end, I'll show you how to calculate what this chaos is actually costing your business right now. In my last video, I talked about the delegation framework that eliminated 90% of my back and forth with revisions with my remote teams. And that framework works. It really does. But even with that system in place, I kept running into the same problems over and over again with freelancers. And I realized it's not just about how you delegate, it's about who you're delegating to and how they're structured. Because the traditional outsourcing model, finding random freelancers on Upwork or Fiverr or whatever, that model is fundamentally broken for most businesses. And I know some of you are thinking, but Jeremy, I found good freelancers. They work great for me. And look, I'm not saying good freelancers don't exist. They absolutely do. But what I'm saying is, even with the best freelancers, you're still dealing with problems that are baked into the model itself. Let me show you what I mean. Here's 5 typical problems freelancers experience. See if they sound familiar. Problem number 1, the excuses. Your freelancer misses a deadline, and the reason? Their computer broke, or their internet went down, or their power went out, or they got sick, or had a family emergency. And look, I'm not saying that these things don't happen. Of course they do. But here's the thing. When you're working with individual freelancers, you absorb all that risk. If they can't work, your project stops. Your clients get pissed. You look bad. I can't even count how many times I've been left hanging because a freelancer had some emergency that I had no way to verify or plan for. Problem number 2, the time zone hell. You send work at 5 p.m. your time. They send you work back while you're asleep. You wake up, you review it, send feedback. Guess what? They're asleep again. What should take 2 hours of actual work takes 2 to 3 days of calendar time because of the time zone difference and the back and forth delay. And if there's an urgent client request, forget it. You're stuck. And problem number 3, quality inconsistency. This is the one that drove me crazy. You'd work with a freelancer for a few months. They'd do great work. You'd get comfortable. Then suddenly the quality drops. Why? I don't know. Maybe they took on more clients, or they hired someone to do your work instead of them doing it without telling you, or they just stopped caring. By that time you realize it, you've already delivered subpar work to your client. Problem number 4, the disappearing act. This is one of my favorites. You got a freelancer who's been solid for 6 months. You're relying on them. They know your systems, your clients, your preferences. You put in the time and work. Then one day, nothing. Radio silence. They ghost you. No explanation, no handoff, just gone. And now you're scrambling to find someone new, train them up from scratch, and explain to your client why their project is delayed. Problem number 5, what I call the management tax. This is the biggest cost that nobody talks about. Your time. Even when everything's going well, even when your freelancers are doing good work, you're still spending hours every week managing them, answering questions, clarifying instruction, reviewing work, giving feedback, coordinating between multiple freelancers who don't talk to each other. That's time you could be spending on sales, strategy, client relationships, the stuff that actually grows your business. But instead, you're playing project manager to the scattered team of freelancers across 5 different time zones. So let me show you the math on what it actually costs. Let's say you're paying a freelancer like $8 an hour. Seems reasonable, right? But here's what that doesn't include. Your time. You spend 5 to 10 hours a week managing them. And if your time is worth $100, $200 an hour, that's $500 to $2,000 a week in opportunity cost. Revision time. Work comes back wrong. You spend 2 to 3 hours fixing it or explaining what you already paid someone to do. That's another $200 to $600. Project delays, a missed deadline, cost you a pissed off client, which wastes your time trying to put out that fire. If you lose that client, what's the lifetime value of that client? 10,000, 50,000? Context switching. Every time you have to jump from strategic work to managing your freelancer issues, studies show that you lose 20 to 30 minutes of productivity just getting your head back into the game where you left off when you're in that focus time. Add it all up. And that's $8 hour freelancer is actually costing you $1,500 to $3,000 a week when you factor in your time and missed opportunity. That's $6,000, $12,000 a month. I'm not even counting the stress, the frustration, the Sunday evening anxiety, wondering if your freelancer is going to deliver on Monday morning. Most business owners never do this math. They just know they're frustrated, stressed, and working too many hours. But when you actually calculate the real cost, it is freaking staggering. So after 13 years of dealing with this, after spending over $1 million learning these lessons the hard way, I had a realization. The problem isn't outsourcing itself. The problem is the way most people outsource. Random freelancers working from home with no backup, no accountability structure, no management layer. That model is broken. What you actually need is something different. You need a dedicated team, not random freelancers. You need them working in a physical office, not from home where you have no idea what's actually happening. You need backup systems, so if one person can't work, someone else can pick it up. You need a management layer, someone who's accountable for making sure everything gets done right and on time. And you need someone in your time zone who speaks your language, who could be the bridge between you and the team. That's what I call insourcing. It's not hiring in-house. You're not dealing with recruitment, HR, payroll, and management. And it's not traditional outsourcing. You're not dealing with random freelancers who disappear. It's a third option. A dedicated team in an office with management and backup systems that function like your team without you having to build or manage it. When I figured this out, everything changed. Suddenly I had consistency, reliability, quality, and most importantly, I got my time back. So let me break down the 3 options most business owners consider. Number 1, hiring an in-house team. Exactly what I did when I started my agency. Hindsight's 2020. If I knew then what I know now, I wouldn't have struggled like I did the first year. That costs $60,000 to $80,000 per person per year, plus benefits, plus equipment, plus office space if you have one. Now the pros are they're your employee. Full control, same time zone, making sure they're a culture fit. The cons, though, are they're expensive, recruitment takes forever, training takes months. If they quit, you start over, and you're locked into paying them whether you have enough work or not. It is best for businesses doing over $1 million a year annually who need someone full-time to do strategic work, not the execution. Option 2, the random freelancers. They cost $5 to $50 an hour depending on skill level and location. The pros are it's a cheap hourly rate. Flexibility, easy to find on Upwork or Fiverr or wherever. The cons are everything I just spent the last 10 minutes talking about. Unreliable, inconsistent, time zone issues, management, overhead, no backup. But it is best for one-off projects where you don't need ongoing consistency. But the third option, insourcing, dedicated teams. It costs about $2,000 to $5,000 a month for a full team, depending on how much capacity you actually need. The pros are you have a dedicated team that know your business. They're in a physical office with backup systems, US-based account manager, consistent quality, multiple skill sets like designers and developers and technical VAs. You can scale up and down depending on workload easily. Now the cons are it's not as cheap as random freelancers per hour, but you don't have as much control as in-house employees. It is best for agencies, consultants, and businesses doing about $150 to $2 million annually who need consistent execution without the hiring headaches. Now, I'm obviously biased because that third option is literally the business I built, Desk Team 360, but I built it because I lived through the pain of the other 2 options. I spent over $1 million in 13 years figuring out what actually works, and this is what works. So here's what I want you to do. I built a tool called the ROI Recovery Calculator. It's free, takes about 3 minutes to fill out, and it shows you in black and white what your current freelancer situation is actually costing you when you factor in your time, revision cycles, project delays, opportunity costs, Most people who go through it realize they're losing about $3,000 to $8,000 a month in hidden costs that they've never calculated because they're focused on the hourly rate. $8 an hour seems reasonable, but they're not calculating the 10 hours a week they're spending managing that person. And they're not calculating the lost revenue from projects that got delayed. They're not calculating how many more leads and appointments and clients they could generate if they had those 10 hours a week back. 10 hours a week, that's 40 hours a month. That's like a whole week in the month that you're missing out on. They're not calculating the context switching tax. Every time they have to jump from strategic work to firefighting freelancer problems. The calculator does all that math for you, and then it shows you what would it look like if you had a system that eliminated 80 to 90% of that chaos? And I got to ask you, what would you do with an extra 10 to 15 hours a week? What could you sell? What clients could you take on? What part of your business could you focus on? What project could you finally get to? That's the real ROI. Not just saving money, getting your time and sanity back. So if you're currently working with freelancers and you're frustrated with the inconsistency, the excuses, the time you're spending managing them, go calculate what it's actually costing you. The link's in the description or the pinned comment, ROI Recovery Calculator. It's free, no opt-in required. Just go plug in your numbers and see the math. And if the numbers shock you, if you realize you're losing $5,000 to $10,000 a month in hidden costs, then maybe it's time to look at a different model. Maybe it's time to stop patching together random freelancers and build an actual system. And that's what we do at Desk Team 360. That's what insourcing is all about. But even if you never work with us, at least you'll know what the current situation is costing you, and you can make an informed decision about what to do next. All right, that's it. Go run the numbers. You might be surprised. And if you found this valuable, follow me. I got a lot more to share about business building that doesn't require you to work 70 hours a week. See you in the next one.